It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello and welcome to the Daylight Midnight Show. My name's Greg and I can't believe it's episode 2 of the series and I've already run late and had to record a show later than I'd planned to. There is a good reason why that has happened though, which I'm going to get to soon enough. But let's start the show, as we will every show in Series 3, with a rhyming couplet. One of my house rules is that we have a strict time limit. Last week's show I overrun, so this week's just 8 minutes. On the house rules that I went through last week, no episode of this show should be longer than 10 minutes, and there's a sub-rule that says if I do go over 10 minutes, however much I go over by, I have to take off the week after. So we overran by 2 minutes last week, so this week's show should only be 8 minutes long. Having said that, I have just remembered while reading that at the start of last week's show I said that one wasn't going to apply last week because I wasn't in the swing of it. We hadn't done a show for a long time, so I was going to give myself a break. So it doesn't need to be 8 minutes this week, but the couplet was already written. Couple of things about outfit roulette. I'm going to have to move as little as possible because, as well as being incredibly warm, I've realised that this jacket makes a lot of noise. And if makeup is going to stay on outfit roulette this year, and I'm more than happy for it to do so, I think I'm going to have to buy my own collection of makeup because I've been through all my wife's collection and it's pretty uninspiring really. I also think I need to get some lessons because I look like I've just done 4 rounds with Tyson Fury rather than applied makeup. But I'm out of practice and I've done my best, and I did find some rather lovely nail varnish that I'm going to keep on for a few days. So let's go on with this week's show then by setting our quiz clue. So I want to give you as long as possible to get the answer correct. Start of every week I'm going to give you a clue that will lead you to a mystery object. The answer to that is written on our very expensive display board that we have here. I'll reveal it at the end of the show, and if it turns out you got the answer right, then you award yourself a prize from your own cupboards. And I have to introduce you to a new friend of the show, because I'm aware of the fact that the expensive display screen is behind me, and with cyber hacking people might be able to break into it, or weird untoward things might be going on for people to get the answer right. So I thought we needed a security guard, so I introduce you to DM, the Daylight Midnight Monkey, and he's going to act as our security guard, and while I'm looking at the camera he's going to watch the display cabinet for me so we know that no one's cheating. So if you... okay. Right, hang on. Maybe I should have done a practice of this before we started. Is that gonna... There we go. Right, you keep your eyes on that, okay? Behave yourself. So, let's set that quiz question then. It's bigger than a slug, it's smaller than a sloth, and you might have one in your kitchen. Bigger than a slug, smaller than a sloth, and you might have one in your kitchen. And don't forget, the main part of the clue also gives you the starting letter of the answer. So because I mention a slug and a sloth, you know the answer starts with a sl sound. So have a think, I'll give you the answer at the end of the show. Bigger than a slug, smaller than a sloth, and you might have one in your kitchen. There we go. So I think we go straight onto the cartoon. I'm still getting used to Series 3 running order. I think we go straight to the Cartoonimator now and find out what picture it's given us. I put all my thoughts and feelings and ideas into this brown folder, which is now the expensive Cartoonimator, and then it comes up with a picture, a cartoon that sums up what's happened in the past week, and I'll explain to you why I think that picture has arrived. Exciting news, the Cartoonimator will have its own theme song next week. It's not quite finished, and I want to share it with you when it's fully done. And not just sort of a botch job that I've put together. So this is this week's cartoon, and it's come out like this. It's not a great image. That's not some kind of weird mutated pregnant jellyfish. That is a tooth with a crack in it. And this is why I'm recording this show a few days later than I planned to. So let me just remove last week's effort. Won't need that again. And put the cracked tooth there. So I don't want to waffle on about it too long, but I broke a tooth about 4 years ago. I felt it crack, I heard it go. Saw a dentist, and I know now that the dentist didn't do anything about fixing the cracked tooth. They just put a filling over the top of it. So the problem was there, the problem got worse. We then had this pesky pandemic came along that you might have heard of. So I couldn't see a dentist anyway. When I could see a dentist, they decided not to do anything with it. Then there was another lockdown, etc, etc. It all came to a head, culminating last week in me having 2 nights of absolute agony, and I had to have the tooth taken out at the end of last week. So that's why the show wasn't recorded the day I wanted it to be, because I just couldn't talk properly. And if my voice is a bit funny, it's because I'm chewing my own tongue, because I've got a swollen gum and this big hole where a tooth used to be. But what happened was, because I don't like to waste any time, when I was laying awake trying all different things to try and get this pain to stop, and if you've ever had bad toothache, you know there's nothing like it. So I looked up some old remedies for toothaches. There's old wives' tales, there's all these different tribes around the world that have all these different natural medicines that they use. So I thought, because I was getting desperate, let's just find something I can use. Maybe I can like get nettles out of the garden, crush them up, mix them with salt, and that will help my tooth. So I found some interesting ones for you, so that if you're going through what I'm going through, or what I went through last week, you can hopefully get some relief from this and not just have to lay there counting your breath and panting like a pregnant woman like I did last week. I keep mentioning pregnancy in this one. Anyway, so an interesting note from my research to start with. Nomadic Arab tribes knew of 17 plants to heal toothaches, but the website I went to didn't tell me what they were, so I've had to do a bit more research. So here we go, because I've got a thing about the number 8, I've picked my favourite 8 for you, and I'll share them with you now. Garlic, apparently. Garlic paste has been used for centuries for throbbing toothaches. You mash up a clove of garlic, add a pinch of salt, and then you rub it on the infected tooth. The other option is that you can just get a clove of garlic and chew it, and do that 3 times a day on the infected tooth. And it's claimed that after the first day you don't notice the taste or the smell. I'm not sure that would be the same for the people around you though, and I don't like garlic, so I didn't try that one. Sage is another one, and I mention this because I think a lot of people have wild sage in their garden, right? A temporary remedy which originated in Italy. Make a kind of tea using 2 tablespoons of dried or fresh sage, and that is apparently provides relief if you swill it around like you do with salt water. You can also put dried sage in a bag and hold it on your cheek over the infected area, and that can provide relief. I'm not sure how that would work. Ginger. This comes from Hawaii. Did you know that if you want to be a herbal remedist in Hawaii, you have a 15-year apprenticeship? Side note there. I was awake for a long time the other night. So ancient Hawaiian folk medicine say ginger root has healing properties. They use it for a lot of different things. So if you are a capable healer, you've done your 15-year apprenticeship, you would shape some ginger root so it covers the tooth, and then you bite on it, and it apparently helps generate saliva, and it marinates the sore tooth because it mixes with the ginger, and that gives you some kind of relief. Or possibly it'll hurt like hell because you're biting down on an exposed nerve like I had last week. Chamomile tea has been used as a healing poultice for toothache as well. Put a tea bag in boiling water, remove it, and then when it cools down a bit, you place the tea bag on the sore tooth, and apparently that helps as well. I was going to do this one, but I have chamomile tea loose leaves, so I didn't think it would work quite as well. Marjoram I know very little about, but I like this because I get to mention Theophrastus, who was a pupil of Aristotle. This is the oldest one I found in my research, because around about 300 BC, the aforementioned Theophrastus wrote that the Egyptians had already been using marjoram to soothe toothaches for hundreds of years. So we're going back like 2,500 to 3,000 years now for this one. And as recently as 75 years ago in Palestine, drops of oil of marjoram would be placed directly into cavities in teeth. Having had a cavity in my tooth last week, I don't think I would have wanted anything dropped in it, oil or anything else. Let's go to Russia. Not a phrase you hear very often nowadays, but they have a remedy using a fried onion. You wrap a fried onion in a small cloth. This is where it gets a bit weird. If the tooth is hurting on the right side of the face, you put the onion on your right wrist. If the tooth is hurting on the left, you place the onion on the left wrist. And if the ache is in the front, you place the bag just below the thumb joint on one or both of your wrists. Doesn't say how long you leave it for, until all your friends have laughed at you and then you realise it was a joke, I guess. This one's even stranger. An interesting old-time country cure sees people soaking a small piece of brown paper bag in vinegar. Then you drain it, you sprinkle one side of the paper with pepper and apply it externally to the affected area. You'll feel a warm sensation that will offer temporary relief from even the most painful acute flare-up. I couldn't see how this one would work. It felt like too much work to concentrate on, so I didn't bother with that one. And the final one I'll give you with involves cayenne pepper. This comes from parts of South America and the Caribbean, so it must have worked because different places use it. But how about this for a recipe? Remove the top from the cayenne pepper pod and remove the seeds. Fill the pod with salt and wine vinegar until it's full. Bake it in an oven until the vinegar starts to boil. You then remove it from the oven, and then you dip a cotton swab into the pepper pod and apply that to the sore tooth immediately and continue as needed. That was far too much work, so I can't tell you whether it helped. I took ridiculous amounts of painkillers, tried hot and cold, tried everything. Nothing works when your tooth is that bad. But if you are suffering, or if you do suffer in the future, maybe that list will help you. I suppose sage and chamomile tea would be the most likely ones to have in your own house. So before I boil to death inside this ridiculously hot, this is designed to wear outside in winter, and I'm wearing it indoors in a heated studio, so that's why I'm getting overheated. Let's do outfit roulette then, and hopefully this won't come up again next week. I've decided I am going to keep the same ones because with a 13 show series running up to Christmas like I'm planning, I don't think we'll have too many repetitions. But let's find out. I have no idea where that went, but I'll show you that landed with the yellow pointing up. So yellow next week, I'll be wearing the rash vest again. On top of that, we'll be wearing whatever is in column red. This is sounding very familiar to last week. Red, I'll just be wearing a scarf over the top. At least I'll be a bit cooler. And on top of that, to accessorise all that, we'll go to the green aisle, which is makeup again. So basically, it's the same as this week, but I'll take away the jacket and I'll wear a scarf. And I'm going to treat myself to some different makeup so I don't look like I've been in a fight outside a kebab shop at 3 o'clock in the morning after a night in a club or something. So I think that's it for the show. I'm still getting over the dental surgery, so I hope it made some sense. Hope you got something from it. Oh, we better do the quiz reveal. Well done, DM. Thank you very much indeed for doing your sterling work, sir. The quiz was this week bigger than a slug, smaller than a sloth, and you might have one in your kitchen. The correct answer this week was a slow cooker. I'll see you in a few days. Have a great few days.